Hi there, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. We've been talking a lot about tantrums. This has come up in the Motherhood in the Making community, and I want to put it here on my page, Motherhood in the Making, and bring the conversation here as well. Tantrums. It really is conflicts that we have with our kids' misbehavior, that really brings us as parents to reach out for support, get help, get books, ask questions. And that's great. It's great that we're using conflicts with our children as an opportunity to grow and to better ourselves as parents. So I want to talk today a little bit about why, what happens with the conflicts with our kids, why it's important that we how to approach it, and why it's important that we approach it in this way. So I want to start off first by just acknowledging that when our kids misbehave, what it brings up for us in our thoughts and our feelings. When our kids misbehave, we often are just sort of overwhelmed with strong feelings. That's so real. And often, my husband's like, "Are we the only ones?" And I'm like, "No, we're not." Trust me, we're not. In his world, because he's not a mom, and because he's not in these groups, he's not aware that we all struggle with this. We all experience really strong emotions when our kids, chuck us back in the middle of aisle 3, or refuse to put on their shoes, or are dilly-dallying. And we have these strong emotions. So that's one thing that comes up for us, and that sort of sets off alarm bells and makes us think, whoa, what is going on here? There's also the pressure from our parents, from grandparents, the judgment that we have in mind that makes us think, oh, what's going on here? Is there something wrong? There's also the social expectation regarding authority and discipline and respect, like the shoulds. Your kid should be behaving well, your kid should be quiet, your kid should be agreeable. And then there are the concerns, of course, where a lot of parents are like, oh my god, is my kid like an asshole? Is my kid gonna totally go off the rails? We fair enough, get a little anxious, get distressed, thinking that maybe these are early signs of serious issues. And that's common. I hear that a lot in the Motherhood Making community, and that's come up for me too. I won't lie. I have a daughter, I speak about her now a lot lately. She's quite hot-blooded, and it's crossed my mind, and that's real. That's real for us as parents. And finally, life is just easier when kids cooperate. So when they're not cooperating, it makes us think, what the hell's going on? What's going on? I want it to be different. So these are all real experiences for us as parents, and it's important to acknowledge that this happens, and it happens for all of us, and it happens in different, it looks differently for all of us, but these are sort of the elements that make us really come to ask, what's going on here? And so often we go to think, what's wrong with my kid? Or what's wrong with me? And the first step of the 5-step method that I created to stop reacting and stop responding to your kid, of course, is to stop. And here's where we stop and we just have compassion on ourselves. We acknowledge that things aren't going well, and we have some compassion on ourselves and sort of recognize, there's something real happening for me. Maybe my in-laws are visiting and I feel like they need to, my kids need to be on good behavior because I'm feeling a sense of shame, like I'm not a good enough mom. Or maybe we're out in a social event, a social setting, and I fear the judgment of other people. And maybe my kid is acting in a way that is a little frightening, and so I wonder about their well-being. All that's very real. And so it's important that we stop and we just acknowledge that is what's happening. And then we need to bring our attention to this, the misbehavior and the conflict. And it's really important that in this, that we take this as an opportunity. That our children's misbehavior, though we have thoughts and beliefs telling us that it's a sign of something negative, it's actually an opportunity. This is an opportunity to teach our children about themselves and about others, and it's also an opportunity to support their emotional development. And this is so crucial, critical, bedrock when it comes to resilience and self-confidence, self-esteem, healthy social relationships, academic success, all the things that are really important when it comes to adulthood and tolerating the ups and downs of life, right? So it's important to acknowledge that kids aren't meant to behave all the time. That's a hard one. Sometimes people come to the Mother in the Making community and they'll say, my kid's doing this. I'm just like, No joke. Like, hello, no kidding, your kid's doing this. Let's not forget, these are children, right? These are kids. They're just doing what they do best, and that is explore, push boundaries, try new things. And that's really about learning about themselves in relationships in the world. And they take and they are interacting and using the responses and reactions from their environment to give them feedback on who they are and what they can expect from themselves, others, and the world around them. So it's really important that when our children are misbehaving, that we look at the behavior but also acknowledge that there's a whole world going on underneath that. And we can't always know what's going on, but it's important that we take a stance of curiosity. So that ultimately, no matter what happens, if there's a rupture, that there's a repair. That even if in the moment I don't handle it as best as I'd like to, and I totally lose my shit, which happens, then there's room for repair. And that's where, that's the meat of it, guys. The repair, the conscious communication when my child has stepped down from their dysregulation, the chaos in their brains. Something's happening for me, I don't know what it is. Now, I was just speaking to a client, she gave birth, and she was telling me about her birth. And she said, I was really scared. There were moments where I was really frightened. And she was so glad that she had this midwife with her, who was the support, solid base for her. And she's like, I just needed someone to contain me. And really, that's how a child feels on occasion. My son was had a total SPAC attack yesterday. I'd have to take a moment to think why. I don't remember. But he was having a total meltdown. And for him, at that moment, there's no point of rationalizing, because their rational brains are not operating. They're strictly on an emotional level. And it's just important that we acknowledge that they are very emotional right now, and they don't know what's going on. And it's my job just to be there, to hold them like a midwife and be like, I'm here for you. Now, whether you're physically holding them or you're just holding space. And that is with an openness and a curiosity and tolerating your own emotions that come up for you. So going back to the beginning of the video, the shame and the judgment and this insecurity and the self-consciousness and the guilt, all that's happening for me when my kid is misbehaving, that's important that I tolerate this. The fear that, oh my God, you're totally going off the rails and our future is doomed. It's my job in that moment to really reflect, right? That's the third step of the method, is to reflect on what's happening for me, contain it, and create a space, move my stuff out of the space, hold it, and make a space for my kid to do what he or she has to do and be there. And just be there. And sometimes, we do our best, okay, guys? We do our best. Sometimes there's a lot, we're going to talk about this in another video, there's a lot that can go on that can get in the way of being there, and it's totally okay. But it's just important to know that when our kids are misbehaving, that we take a stance of curiosity. What's going on for my kid right now? And of course, that's in the context of acknowledging that there's some stuff going on for me here too, and just being with it. And then when the wave passes, and sometimes it's a wave, sometimes it's a tidal wave, sometimes it's a tsunami, when it passes, we can reconnect, and we can repair, and we can reflect to our child, you were really upset about this. You were really angry. And you were really frustrated because you couldn't get what you wanted. And I was upset because I couldn't get what I wanted either. I wanted you to go to bed, but you wanted this, so you didn't go to bed. And we were both really frustrated. And in so doing, we are teaching our kids that, one, we're teaching them about themselves. They get a sense of, oh yeah, you see me, you understand me. Oh yeah, and that is in line with what I felt, so that makes sense. And that's containing, that's integrating, that makes sense of my story. As opposed to a situation where, one, there's no repair, there's no reflection, and so I'm sort of like, I don't know, and it's this lonely place where I'm sort of lost. Or where the feedback is with shame and aggression, then there's a conflict about what I think is right and what I'm being told. I think I have a right to feel this way, but you're telling me I don't, so there's this real conflict about, wait, who am I? And we really want to give our kids an opportunity to learn about who they are, and our relationship with them is the best way to do it. So by reflecting back to them what was happening for them, and seeing them, I see you. I see that was going on for you. You're not bad because you acted that way. Well, I didn't like that behavior. I do see what's going on for you. Hi, Esther. I do see what's going on for you. And that's really important. It's important for your kid, and it's important for your relationship. And it's also important to reflect your kid. You know, when you yell at me and you say you hate me, this came up in the Motherhood in the Making group, when you say you hate me, I feel so hurt inside because I love you so much. And when you say you hate me, I think, whatever you think, I think, I think I'm doing it, I think whatever, I think I'm doing a bad job. I think and that really hurts my feelings, it hurts. Now, depending on the age of your child, you have to take this into consideration. Up to the age of 5, it's really a lot about what's happening for your kid. They're really not in their development, really in a place to understand you. It's not their shortcoming, it's a brain development thing, guys. So be a little bit forgiving. It's a lot of giving, I see you, I understand you. Once, they're in first grade and moving forward, we can start saying, that hurts. Or I don't like it when you do that. It hurts my feelings, and talking from an emotional standpoint. That's really the details, and really I invite you please to PM me, and I'll give you specific advice for your child and their age, because it really does matter about the age. But in general, the idea is that we are curious about the emotional world of our child, and that is within the context of being open to our own emotional world and accepting and acknowledging our own emotional world. Now, I talk more about this, more in detail about the process in the 5-step method I told you about, 5 steps to stop reacting and start responding to your kids. It's a 5-part tutorial series. You can access it on my website. I will leave a link, and you can just put in your email and you'll get it all delivered to you in your inbox. Nice little package. You just click and it's all there for you on the page. Thank you for listening. Thanks, Esther, for listening, and thanks for your comment. If you're listening to this recording, please feel free to PM me with any questions or to comment below. I'm happy to hear from you. Have a great day, everybody. Bye for now.